Welcome to That Sober Guy podcast. I'm Shane Raymer. It's good to be with you today. Shout out to all the dudes in the Victory Circle, Sober Guy men's community. You can join us too. We'd love to have you and sign up there for free at thatsoberguy.com. Title of today's episode, we have officially lost the plot. Officially lost the plot. I don't know what is going on in America anymore. But I saw some stuff this week and I have some questions. So let's talk about it. An MMA fighter says something outrageous, not too uncommon, I guess, today. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. An NFL quarterback is fighting over a jersey number. Found that to be interesting, to say the least. Baseball apparently has 4 outs. And politicians continue to promise to fix everything while everybody is yelling at everybody else and blaming everybody else. We've officially lost the plot. So today we're going to talk about some of the weirdest stuff that happens in sports, politics, culture, and try to figure out why we're all emotionally invested in things that honestly, they probably don't deserve that much attention. And we, as human beings, as people, as men, women, I don't know, we tend to spend a lot of time in these digital spaces. So let's start with the UFC first. I'm not like a diehard UFC fan. I do enjoy the UFC. I've watched many fights. I don't know every single UFC fighter. We used to belong to the UFC gym, if that counts as anything, down in Huntington Beach, California. And did some working out there and some different events. Met Chuck Liddell there one time. I remember he was doing, I think there was a fight and they had some UFC fighters there who were hanging out and meet and greet fan type stuff. And I know Cash was super pumped at that, that time to meet Chuck Liddell and a couple other guys. I can't remember their names, younger guys. But I've never been the diehard UFC fan. In any case, definitely a great sport, fun to watch, a lot of great personalities, a lot of great fights. I love Joe Rogan, of course, as an OG announcer. He's been there forever. And if you've heard of a guy named Josh Hokit, I believe that's how you pronounce his name, UFC heavyweight, he's made, he's becoming a pretty recognizable name as his character develops. Maybe that's a decent way to put it. And I'm not saying that the UFC is, just as similar as like WWF or WWE or whatever. But I do think there's definitely characters, and that those characters, they drive reaction, they drive the sport, they drive the fan base, they drive all of that. And Josh, I keep forgetting his last name. Hokit, sorry. Don't apologize. It's a sign of weakness. Mom taught me that. Did you teach me that, Mom? I don't know. But he received a huge opportunity, I believe it was in June, July, on the UFC White House card, and he defeated Derek Lewis. So it was a huge fight. And during his post-fight interview, you may have seen this, you may have seen clips of it, you may have heard about it. He made a controversial remark about Michelle Obama. And basically, I think he said something along the lines of, Michelle Obama is a man. Don't you all agree? So regardless, whether you think that's true or whether you think it isn't true, Dana White, the UFC president, condemned the comment. He wasn't happy about it. He also leaned into the fact that we have free speech at the same time. So Josh Hokit has continued leaning into this controversial persona. And more recently, he drew more criticism for, a violent comment. I don't have the comment in front of me. I actually don't know exactly what it was, but it was involving Ian Machado, Gary's young son. So it doesn't sound good. Whether he was messing around, just talking shit. Like, who knows? But Josh Hokit might be one of the most interesting people in the UFC right now as far as headlines go. You know, I did a podcast on Dustin Poirier not too long ago about his incident in the airport. He was having some issues with alcohol. I hope that he has, gotten some help for that. At this point, I know that was the plan moving ahead. But the UFC never seems to lack controversy. Let's put it that way, because controversy sells. It sells tickets. It sells merchandise. It is a huge organization, billion-dollar organization. And Josh Hokit is getting all this attention, not necessarily because he's the best fighter. He's a great fighter. Not downing him or doubting him in any aspect of that. But I think the bigger thing to look at here is this man understands attention. And it's not just him. We see this all over the place, but we're going to use this particular situation as a great example of this. You say something outrageous. People get angry. People post about it. They talk about it. They talk about it in public, on their platforms, in chats, in comments, all that stuff. And other people react to it. Even podcast talk. We're talking about it right now. Now, Josh Hokit, who is a great fighter, could have fallen in, with the rest of the group of the USC. Now he specifically stands out. Everybody knows his name. Back in the day, if you wanted publicity, what did you do? You took an ad out somewhere. You bought a billboard. You did advertising, marketing. Maybe you got a commercial. The bigger question here is this, is controversy becoming part of the business model? We got UFC trash talk. You have influencers. You have politicians. Our president, one of the biggest trash talkers out there. You have podcasters. You have reality TV. I think I said influencers, social media influencers, athletes even. You don't necessarily have to be loved. You don't even have to necessarily be respected, actually. You just have to be impossible to ignore. And here's the thing. I understand why that works. Does it mean that I agree with everything everybody says or everything everybody does? Absolutely not. I have my own opinion on certain things, and I'm entitled to that, just like you are. I think we should all have intelligent, thought-provoking discussions, and we can debate stuff and disagree, agree to disagree, whatever you want to call it. But from a media standpoint, Josh Hokit understands attention, just like many other professionals do, no matter what field they're in. The internet does not care if people love you. It just wants people to keep watching, keep clicking, keep buying. And with that, it's an interesting lead-in, I think, to the next topic in the NFL about Jaden Daniels. I don't know if you heard this recently. Jaden Daniels was upset because LSU, okay, wait, let me start from the top here in case you haven't heard about this. Jaden Daniels, first and foremost, just in case you're not a football fan too, he is the quarterback for the Washington Redskins, which is what they should be called and once were called. They're the Commanders now. In any case, side point, Jaden Daniels is the quarterback for them, for Washington. He also wore number 5 in college at LSU. He won the 2023 Heisman Trophy there. LSU did not give the number to a new player for a period of time after he left. And I don't know if they had some sort of specific agreement, if they had a contract. I'm not really sure on what took place there, if there was an agreement or not. But LSU recently gave number 5, Jaden Daniels' old college LSU number, to a highly recruited cornerback named DJ Pickett. Daniels representatives, check this out. This is insane to me. So Jaden Daniels' team, his staff, his lawyers, whatever, sent LSU a cease and desist over the use of his name, image, and likeness. LSU says that DJ Pickett had been promised the number during recruiting. And here's the thing, Joe Burrow weighed in on this, so we'll get to that in just a second. His number 9 has also been protected by LSU. So I don't know how other people necessarily feel about this. I think it's crazy that it's a huge story throughout sports. Maybe I shouldn't even say huge, but it was a big story. There was a lot of people talking about it this week. I'm just going to keep it simple. Stop retiring jersey numbers. It's stupid. It's literally getting ridiculous. Like, honor the player, celebrate the player, put their name in the stadium, put their picture on the wall, give them a statue. Who cares? Give them a ceremony, give them a parade. Do whatever. But stop with the jersey retiring. It's a number. We're going to get to a point where every college football team has 79 retired numbers and there's only a few left on the roster to pick from. Like some kid's going to come in, he's going to be super pumped about playing. He's going to be like, hey, I'd like to get number 5. And LSU is going to be like, no, I'm sorry. That number has a lot of emotional significance here. I don't think Mr. Daniels would like that too much. He'll send us a cease and desist. And, we'll have issues. So no, you can't have number 5. How about 55? You want to be 55? I'm a quarterback, sir. That's okay. You can be 55. Yeah. Now Joe Burrow's involved. We have entered the LSU jersey number cinematic universe. Number 5, number 9. What's next? Who's next? But here's the point. This isn't just about a number. It's about money. It's about athletic branding. It's about identity. It's about legacy. College football becoming professional entertainment, like it's kind of getting out of hand, I feel like. And I know a lot of guys, and I was kind of a late bloomer in this, but I had buddies back in the day. I've always kind of watched NFL, done fantasy football, stuff like that for probably 20 plus years. And I always have, you probably have them too. Maybe you're that guy, but you like college football better than NFL. And as I got older and started to watch some college football, I understood because they played harder, it seemed like. They played with more passion. Not to say NFL guys don't play with passion. It's not what I'm saying, but the college experience, the college level of football was different. It's a different vibe. And now that's changed. Athletes are brands now in college. Your name has value. Your image has value. Your number has value. And a lot of this started with Johnny Manziel, who I'd love to have on the podcast at some point one day. I should try to reach out to him. But great documentary about his whole story on Netflix if you've never seen it. But that is where this started and it probably actually started further with that, with like Reggie Bush, I think back in the day winning the Heisman. And I believe he got the Heisman revoked from him as well for accepting gifts or something along those lines. But point being is NFL was already corporate branding, names, tons of money, marketing, jerseys, all that stuff. And now it's leaked into the college space. And so your name has value, your brand has value, your number has value. At some point, you got to just let guys play the game. That's why as fans, as people who like to watch sports, that's what we want to see. A lot of the other stuff is noise and it's headlines and it's clicks and it's debating. It's crazy comments like we talked about with Josh Hotek. Is it Hotek? I feel like I keep slaughtering this man's name. Hokit. Probably a guy I know named Josh Hotek. In any case, I don't know. Who cares? Okay, but you get the point. So this whole, and trust me, this is all going to tie together as we get down a little bit further along in this podcast, because now I want to talk about the MLB. I'm covering some sports topics this week because, number one, I enjoy sports, and this kind of stuff it's happening all the time. This is just a couple examples this week of some of the stories that are coming out. And when we zoom out from this and we take a bigger picture at what's actually happening, it's very, very interesting. And your legacy isn't the number on your back. It's what you did while you were wearing it, right? And no disrespect to Jaden Daniels, amazing football player, but I don't know that he was or is a Hall of Famer. Maybe in LSU context. I mean, I don't know. I could be wrong. I didn't watch I didn't watch him play a lot in college. I know he's a great quarterback. And I actually saw they did a piece on him on ESPN preseason, and they were doing some interviews with him and his mom and some photo shoots. And they were just kind of talking about how he was raised. His mom worked a couple of jobs to put him, through, or put them through school and make sure that he had everything he needed. Great story. Seems like a great guy. Mom seems like a great mom. But I'm just saying, is he a Hall of Famer? I don't know. I don't see that right now. Maybe he'll have a huge season this season. I don't know. But cease and desist over a number and over the brand. And I guess, hey, who am I? I'm nobody sitting on the outside commentating on this. Obviously, I'm sure there's money involved. I'm sure there's, there is a lot involved. So I do say this with respect to that. But the whole idea, when you look at the scale of it, is kind of ridiculous. It's kind of ridiculous. And this isn't the only case of this happening. So maybe you heard about baseball having 4 outs. Did you hear about that? During a recent Red Sox Blue Jays game, a strange base running situation created confusion over how many outs there were and whether a run should count. Okay, so here's kind of the quick breakdown of what happened. Boston hits a fly ball. Okay, a runner scored. There was confusion over the number of outs. Happens sometimes. It's baseball. A lot going on at the same time. Kind of boring sometimes, like you're watching grass grow, depending on what the state of the game is. The scoreboard indicated there were 2 outs. The defense believed it had recorded another out. And so the umpires come back together. They call timeout. They have to determine whether a 4th out appeal could affect the play. I'm still confused by this, to be honest. I am still going, what is going on? Last time I checked, I played baseball since I was 3 years old. There's 3 outs in baseball. So the officials, the umpires, they stopped the game for about 15 minutes while they reviewed the rule and tried to sort everything out. And the important thing is, a 4th out is not actually baseball suddenly giving a team 4 outs. It doesn't make any sense. And it's a rare rule situation where a defensive team can make an appeal after the 3rd out to establish that another runner should have been called out earlier, potentially affecting a scoring play, blah, 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 blah. I'm confusing myself even talking about it. So are you telling me baseball has 4 outs or does it have 3? I don't get it. I've watched baseball my entire life. I knew about 3. Apparently there's a bonus round. Are we playing a board game here? The 4th out isn't actually the 4th out. It's more like an administrative 4th out. It's a technicality. And so baseball is the only sport where you can watch an entire game and still need someone to explain just what happened if you don't follow baseball, because there is a lot going on there. And it's like, at some point, we're going to need a good lawyer sitting next to the umpire. Not an umpire. Maybe we just put the lawyer back there and he can argue all the stuff. And here's what's happening. We're complicating everything. Everything is complicated. Everything. What happened to simplicity? And we wonder why we're feeling the way we feel. We're all out of whack. We have anxiety. We have depression. We're all over the place. We don't know how to relax. We don't know how to communicate and have a normal conversation, look somebody in the eye, shake a hand. It's complicated. Everything. Sports, complicated. Technology, complicated. Work, complicated. Social media, lame and complicated. Politics, unbelievably complicated and dishonest. We used to just watch a baseball game. It's one of the beautiful things about baseball. A lot of people say, oh, baseball's slow. I don't like baseball. It's boring. Well, if you think about it, baseball is an amazing sport because it forces you to slow down. You know, Jess and I have been watching Mike and Molly lately. That's our new go-to show. I don't know if anyone is Mike and Molly fans. Older show, gives off the 90s nostalgia like no other, which is one of the reasons I like it. But the writers in that show they're awesome. And the comedy in there is great. And one episode recently, they went to a Cubs game and Molly was reminiscing about her dad taking her to Cubs games back in the day. And one of the things they used to like to do, he had passed away, you know, in the show when she was a kid so it was very sentimental to her to go to the game and keep score. You ever seen people doing that at a baseball game? They got their scorebook, they got their seeds, they got their drink, they're watching their favorite team, they're hanging out, they're in the freaking moment. They're in the moment, they're present, and they're keeping score. And they're watching their game with their spouse or their dad or their friends or whatever. And they've slowed down. They're forced to slow down because baseball is a slower game. We don't do that anymore. People complain about baseball. It's like I said it earlier, it's like watching grass grow. It's supposed to be slow, and it does speed up. At times, you have exciting innings, a lot of runs scored, maybe a lot of strikeouts on defensive game. There's excitement, but it makes you wait. It makes you be patient. It makes you sit back and relax. And we don't have that as much, if at all, today. People are always in a big freaking hurry. Our attention spans are like 3 seconds. My son has a hard time watching a movie. It's not just my son. It's everyone's kids. Because of social media, because of the instant gratification. I'm not saying social media is bad. I use it. I use it for work. I use it for a lot of things. Sometimes post a picture of our family, whatever. But, today we wonder why we're constantly chasing the escape and we're constantly chasing the whatever and the next thing. And we want to be part of it and we want to get it on video and we want to do this and share it and get viral and views. And we can't focus on a thing at a time. And we wonder why society is the way it is today. And obviously there's different reasons for that. This isn't the only thing, but I do think it's so interesting how small the attention span is these days and how often we're checking our phones. You ever feel it vibrate in your pocket and you go, oh, someone's calling me or I just got a text or whatever. And you pick it out and there's nothing there. Yeah, that's a real thing. That's weird. Or like I was talking about peptides the other day and all of a sudden I got 67 peptides ads on my Instagram feed. Like, what's going on there? We used to watch baseball and now we're conducting a freaking legal proceeding in the 7th inning and it's lame. A lot of people don't like the cameras, the strike zone rule where they can appeal now. It's not my favorite, to be honest. Do they miss calls sometimes? Yeah, but it's part of the game. And then you had guys like Lou Piniella who ran out and threw freaking bases all over the place and, kicked dirt on the umpire. That was a fun part of the game. It was one of the best parts of the game, actually. It was amazing. They don't do that anymore. You might get an argue. I think Mark Kotze got thrown out a couple times. He'll argue a little bit. You'll see some of the guys do it. But the technology, the striving for perfection of a kid's game, it's really gotten to be kind of ridiculous. Now, do I still love baseball? Absolutely. Do I still love football? Absolutely. I love watching some games, but it's not my identity. I'm still never going to wear a grown man's jersey with his name on my back. That's just weird. But hey, to each his own. I get it. Kinda. I don't really get it, actually. I lied. I'll wear a hat. Y'all know, you see videos of the podcast. I have a ton of different hats. Generally a Raiders, A's guy, but man, I got all types of different hats. I'll wear a hat, no big deal. But another man's name, grown man that throws a ball around for a living, I'm not going to wear another grown man's name on my back. I'm just not. I don't care how much I like the team. That brings us into good old politics, because everybody has the answer. And the political mood these days is absolutely asinine. And I'm not talking left, right, who you voted for, who you didn't, who you like. I don't care because it means nothing to me, because it's all bullshit. It really is. But the mood of it is not fun. It really isn't. People are struggling right now with just groceries, with just gas. The consumption of things is definitely taking a hit. And then this whole Iran thing. I'm not a political expert. I'm not going to dive into a bunch of this, but these are the things that we see on a day-to-day. And one of the things that, as I grow in myself, in just being a man, being Shane Raymer, family guy, a dad, a husband, somebody who enjoys different conversations and different topics, you're seeing firsthand these things happening around us. And I want to talk about these things through a sober mind, through a sober lens. How do we see the world once we stop medicating ourselves? What does that look like? And we still medicate ourselves in all types of ways. I talked about this last week on the podcast. I don't think I'm anything special. I just haven't drank alcohol in almost 13 years. I do think that's awesome. I'm proud of that. I don't need it in my life. Never still heard anybody say my habitual drinking habits have really improved my life. So seeing different things through that lens, it's eye-opening, and it's exhausting too. But I was going to mention the whole Iran thing that's happening right now. And just for the record, we have family from Iran, and they're amazing people. They are absolutely amazing. My nephews are half Iranian. They're amazing boys. The people there that I've met are awesome. But the media would have you believe otherwise. The news cycle would have you believe otherwise. And then you got, the boomers out there, just fucking blow them up. Just blow them all up. Just kill them all. Like, really? Really, guy? But you have so much stuff that we're bombarded with to shape the mind. And how's your neighbors doing? We know everything that's going on allegedly in all these other countries and wars and all this shit. How's your neighbor doing? Do you know your neighbor's name? How's your community doing? How's your kids' school doing? How are your kids' teachers' names? Like, that's what we got to bring it back to. The whole Democrat Republican division thing done by design, it consistently frames everything as an absolute crisis. And it's meant to do that. Why? I'll bring it back to the beginning of the conversation. Clicks, attention, money, stealing presents from people, stealing their peace, stealing their joy, making them live in fear and anxiety that the next worst thing's about to happen, doom scrolling. Like, I love how every political problem now has exactly two explanations. And you hear this all the time. If you're a Republican, it's the Democrats. And if you're a Democrat, it's the Republicans. And that's it. They just go back and forth blaming each other, never getting a damn thing done. That's it. Period. No investigation necessary. No thought necessary. Just, here's what we feed you, and this is what you believe. The problem is when you have a brain and you intend to use it as God gave it to you, you tend to think a little bit differently. You tend to question things. And when you have a sober mind, when you're not addicted to substances and addicted to consistent escape, we all escape a little bit. I'm not denying that, but I'm talking about completely high as a kite, completely intoxicated, constantly escaping. You tend to look at things with some common sense and with the ability to critically think about them. So I'm so over all of the blame. It's like everything. Oh, your water heater broke. It must be the Democrats. Oh, your fantasy football team sucks ass. Oh God, that's the Republicans. They are terrible. You got a speeding ticket? It's probably the media, probably Facebook, probably Instagram. But look, I'm not saying that politics and leadership, I'm not saying it doesn't matter. It obviously matters. We have to have, you have to have laws and rules, borders, language, culture, all that stuff. But we've literally turned politics into a personality. And that's coming from somebody who was quite supportive of a certain personality a few years back. But it just goes to show that we don't really know who's in charge at the end of the day except God. That's it. And when we have the ability and the tenacity, the want, the need, the hunger to follow that, that's when we can find some peace. So, like, you can care about politics and you can care about what's happening. I'm not saying go bury your head in the sand. I don't do that. But I definitely don't sit and watch news cycle after news cycle and listen to this and that and this and that and doom scroll, which I have done for actually many years. If I'm being honest, I don't do that anymore. Not because I'm some genius or perfect person, but I see where it brought me, just like I saw where alcohol brought me. Just like I saw where addiction brought me. I see where it brings us, and it's bringing us as a culture to a really shitty place. And it's lame. And there's so much more life to live out there. Like, you can disagree with somebody and still have dinner with them. You can vote differently and have different opinions and still be friends, still be family. You can have an opinion without spending 4 hours typing shitty texts and comments to people. Like, it's possible. And that's really what it used to be about. That's why I love the 80s, the 90s. I was born in 81. So I was an 80s kid, 90s kid. I was never into politics or anything as a kid. I do remember watching Ronald Reagan back in the day at my grandma's house. I used to call him Cracker Face. I thought his face looked like a cracker. It's not a racist or derogatory comment. I literally thought he looked like a cracker because he was wrinkly. But my political landscape, at that time, I didn't really know anything and I didn't care. I was a kid living life, being a kid, riding bikes, skateboarding, doing all the things. But what I do remember is that I had family who liked to have intelligent, at least somewhat intelligent, at least common sense. We'll just say that. Maybe it's not intelligence. Maybe it's just common sense debates and opinions. They voted for this person. The other person voted for that person. They were on the two sides of and we all, just like George Carlin said, we all know it's a big club and we ain't in it. So come on. But still, you humor me, some discussions about it, some opinions. Yeah, that's fine. And then they sat down and had dinner together and went for a walk or went bowling or whatever the hell they did. They didn't hate each other. They weren't on social media, burning their thumbs up, typing a bunch of BS on there, arguing. And like, it's so stupid. It's so exhausting. So you're going, what does all this have in common? What does all this have to do with each other? And I think the point here is we know everything about everybody all the time. Nothing is a mystery anymore. I remember the first time I watched the Osbournes back in the day, and I'm not knocking Ozzy Osbourne. He's got some great old albums, the Osmosis album. I Just Want You on osmosis. I can't remember, but I remember riding around with a buddy of mine, Jeff Berry and Steve Berry, in the truck back in the day when I was a teenager, man. And we would bump some Ozzy just hard, man. Driving around. It was my buddy Ryan Rogers' truck. Rest in peace, Ryan. Passed away. Addiction. Bummer. Great dude. But we rolled around listening to some Ozzy. So fun. But Ozzy had a mystique about him. You know, remember the legend? He allegedly, well, not allegedly, he did because they had photos of it, but he bit a bird's head off on stage. That was a big thing, right? He's a madman. He's crazy. He's a devil worshiper, all this shit. Ozzy Osbourne was the man. You didn't know. And then what happened? The Osbournes came out. Great show. I'm not hating on it. I had fun with it. I watched it. And I realized as I watched it and I got to see behind the scenes, the mystique was gone of Ozzy Osbourne. I never looked at him the same again. And that's what's happening now with all of these people. The mystique is gone. You see everything. And not only that, it gets fed right to us on our phones every day. Every day. You wake up in the morning, before you even brush your teeth, you know what UFC fighter said what an NFL player is pissed off about, or who got cut, or who got in a fight, or who got a DUI, or who beat their girlfriend. All kinds of shit going on there. You know what happened in Washington, and what Trump said, and what Iran said, and what this other person didn't say, and who's quitting, and there's going to be famine and earthquakes, and that's biblical shit. Yes, I know that, but it's fed to us. We know what's happening in baseball. We know all the things. We know the musicians, rock stars. We know what they're doing. We know what celebrity just passed away or had a nervous breakdown and ended up in rehab. You know what some guy you went to high school with thinks about everything and all of it and all of his opinions. We know everything about everybody. And still, in so many ways, so many cases, we know less about ourselves. We don't even know who the hell we are because we're too busy. We're too stuck. We're stuck in this space. It's so odd. It's so strange. I want out. I want out of it. I try my best to stay out of it. And maybe that is why we're so overwhelmed with everything, because we're consuming it all day, all night, every day. It's exhausting. So this is actually one of the things that sobriety changed for me. And it took some time, and it's still a work in progress. I'm always a work in progress. Maybe you've heard me say that before. I don't ever think I have all the answers. I actually have more questions than answers. And I think that's a good thing. I don't need to react to everything. I just don't. Jess gets frustrated with me sometimes because I tend to, like, something will happen and I won't say anything about it. It's not because I don't care. It's just because, like, I need to process this. I don't want to react. I used to react, and I used to react most of the time in rage or frustration or anger. It was an emotional meltdown. I don't do that. I can't do that. I don't want to do that. I need to sit. I need to think. I need to process. That is a good habit to be in. I don't need an opinion on everything either. I don't need to comment on everything. Isn't that just so? And I know you know that person. And if you don't know that person, it might be you. But they got to comment on everything. They always have something to say. And sometimes you just go, will you shut the fuck up? Hopefully it's not your boss or something. You might get fired for that. Somebody you love, ruin a relationship or something over it. But it's so frustrating. Just shut up. Like, we don't have to comment and hear an opinion on everything. And just go on Facebook. You'll get plenty of that. Talked about that on last week's show. It's exhausting. I don't need to win every argument either. I don't want to argue in the first place. But I don't need to win. Who am I proving? That is the ego at its finest. I need to prove. I need to win. I mean, I'm a winner. I like winning. I like winning games. I like playing to win. But like when it comes to something like that, an argument or something, most of the time I'm not really interested in that. I don't care. I don't have the energy for that. Maybe it's just I'm getting older and I can't see as good as I used to. I don't know. And then the other thing, oh God, this is one of the biggest ones. I don't need to know what everyone else is doing all the time. I just don't. And I just don't care. Now, sometimes people good friends, people I care about. Yeah, it's nice. It's nice, see what they're up to. They're on a vacation. They're doing what they love to do. It's great. I post occasionally stuff like that. Hey, we're at a game or something, But this notion that you can't go anywhere without posting where you're at, who you're with, why you're there, what are you doing? You're at the place. Everybody sees it. I don't care. I don't need to know. I don't want to know. Can I just live my life, please? And I can. And I think the answer to this, like I mentioned before, just get off social media. Take a break if it bothers you that much. That's probably what somebody's screaming right now at me. Would you shut up and just get off? I could hear it already. And you're right. You're right. So maybe we all need a little break. Honestly, one of the best performance advantages that nobody is selling, that nobody's talking about, that nobody is trying to pitch or market or whatever, is just that presence to disconnect and just be okay with not knowing everything, not having to win every argument, not having to have an opinion on everything, not needing to react. Can I take a minute and respond? Sure. It's a much better approach. You don't need another supplement. You don't need another app. You don't need another productivity system. Maybe you do. I don't know. But it seems overwhelming sometimes. Maybe we just need to sit back a little bit and disconnect. Shut your phone off. Get off of social media. Take a break. Those are the types of things that we're not being fed. We're being fed everything else. And most of it is all a bunch of bullshit, and it's not reality. It's just not. A garden is reality. That's Jess is super pumped for this spring coming up. Our friends Stacy and Dave kind of helping, particularly Stacy, really helping Jess with, getting some ideas on what that garden looks like. They have a beautiful garden at their house, beautiful house. Great spot. But the garden is on point. And so Jess is taking some tips from Stacy and reading some books and that stuff. And I bring that up because it's a great hobby. You grow food, you get back to the roots of being a human being, and you get to learn some things along the way and probably fail a couple times. We've tried a couple times to do some different planting and more Jess than myself, kind of just trying to be supportive. I think I might dive in a little bit more this year because I do feel like, is that what happens when you get 45 too? You just like, I'm just going to start gardens. Pretty freaking cool, actually. But I'm pumped about it. Pumped for Jess, pumped for us. Man, we'll have a salsa garden, whatever. But that's a great, that's a great way to get back connected to the spirit and to get back connected to the earth and get back connected into doing something that is out of this fake digital space where everybody's trying to do the same thing. So this is the world we're living in. We've officially lost the plot. UFC fighters, NFL drama, baseball rules, politics, social media. Everybody wants your attention. Now, if it's your kids that want your attention or your spouse or whatever, you better give it to them. That's important. But all this other shit, not important at the end of the day. We got to slow down. Back to when I was talking about a baseball game, keeping score, slowing down, being in the moment. Protect it because you only get so much time on this earth. This earth, this time is irreplaceable. It's invaluable. You can't put a price on it because you never get it back, ever. You don't have to disconnect from everything. You don't have to stop caring about everything. It's not what I'm saying either. Like I said, you don't have to bury your head in the sand. I think it's unrealistic for most people in this day and age to just be like, I'm just not going to have my phone. Trust me, I've tried it. I've done it twice. I went back to a flip phone a couple of different times. It was really nice. It was really difficult. I work on my phone. I'm connected. I get it. It is very difficult. So I'm not trying to say like, just go live. I mean, live off the grid. If you can do that, do it. You know, I think that's awesome too. But I understand that it's not, I don't know what the word is. I'm going to say feasible, but it's not realistic for a lot of people, you know, to 100% completely disconnect. You have to have some sort of connection, whether it's work, whether it's, you know, whatever it is. So you don't have to stop caring. You don't have to bury your head in the sand. You just have to have some boundaries, and you have to have some consciousness to know that the digital space is happening, and it will suck you in very, very fast if you allow it to. So for me, when I kicked alcohol, got my shit together somewhat, and started down a different path of like a healthier lifestyle, more conscious lifestyle, a better lifestyle, you know, that was a huge part of getting some of that back, getting some of that presence back, getting some of that. And it took some years. It really did. It took quite a few years, actually. I don't even think I'm still there. I don't have it all figured out. But it wasn't just getting rid of alcohol. It was like that helped me to get my attention back. It helped me to get confidence back. It helped me get time back. It helped me stop wasting money all the time. It, you know, and the presence piece of that, the peace and the presence was huge. And that's the part I'm interested in now, is I'm, you know, probably lived more than half of my life. If I'm lucky, I'd love to live another 45 years, maybe. I told Jess, if I start shitting my pants and don't know what I'm doing, just shoot me. But, you know, I don't know. We'll see what happens. But what I do know is that I'm going to do my best to live out the last half the best I can. And that's what I'm looking for. That is what I want. That is what I'm interested in now. Not just getting and staying sober. Yeah, that's a big part of it. But the other question to that is like, once we cut that out and we are on a path, like, what are we going to do with the rest of our life? Like, what are you going to do with it? You going to make it worth it? Or are you just going to, you know, just kind of just exist? I don't want to just exist. I want to live. I hope you enjoyed today's podcast. Also, huge shout out to the Believe Network. That's our network that Sober Guy podcast is on. Be sure to check it out. A lot of great stuff on there. A lot of great podcasts. You may see it on ESPN a couple times a week. The Phil Sims show or the Sims Report. I can't remember the exact name of it. I've caught it a couple mornings lately, but they're a great network and we appreciate them being a part of it. I hope something spoke to you today. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the episode, do me a favor. Please share it with a friend. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. You know, as a matter of fact, we have 499 reviews on Apple, and I would love to see number 500 on there. That would be amazing this week. So if you could do that for me, I would love you. That would be awesome. Thank you so much. Take care. God bless. Go to thatsoberguy.com for more information. Keep your blood clean.